If you're like me, you think old school is the best school. So what I ended up picking up was this retro keyboard. This is the 8BITDO, or 8BITDO, I don't know really how you say it, retro keyboard that they make. And let me tell you, this brings you down memory lane. This feels like we're back in the early 2000s or maybe even the late 90s using our old Windows operating systems with our big fat monitors. Today we're gonna be reviewing this keyboard for all of you guys who are interested in maybe picking this guy up. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when companies come out with a product and they take a lot of care in the packaging and the way that the product comes in the box, for me, adds to the quality of the product. And there is absolutely no exception with how everything comes nicely packaged. They do not cheap out on the way that this product comes straight out of the box. Everything is neatly organized, and the construction of the box itself is actually pretty darn rigid. Like, take a look at this. This isn't the cheapest material that they use. I must say, it's actually quite a nice amount of packaging that they've got in this entire setup here. So right off the bat, even before you've used the keyboard, 10 out of 10 for the packaging and the way this keyboard comes straight out of the box. Really, really well done there. All right, now let's give a little bit of keyboard ASMR for all of you weirdos. So after several weeks of using the keyboard, I can say that I actually look forward to working, which is kind of weird. But the feel of the keyboard, the keys themselves, the feedback, everything is just so sharp and really premium quality, and it makes you just want to type away, quite honestly. I haven't noticed any hiccups or glitches with the keyboard since I've started using it. Every single time I connect it to Bluetooth, everything works perfectly. The audio and volume button works perfectly fine as well. I haven't had any problems with keys not registering. Quite honestly, it's been 10 out of 10. And I'm actually really impressed at how long the battery lasts too, considering I've been using it for a full week and I'm still at 90% charge. That's pretty darn good. So I imagine you could probably get away with using it for well over a month without having to charge it. So that's a really nice added benefit to this keyboard as well. I also think it's a great idea that they incorporated the USB stick into the keyboard as well. So you will never lose it. Like it's just a solid design. You also get this retro controller that, quite honestly, looks really cool. And the feedback on it is pretty nice as well. You will connect the end of the cord here to the keyboard, and then you can map whatever buttons you want and keys on the keyboard to these two buttons. So if you're like an old school gamer and you want to play some really old school games, you've got this controller that comes with it. So that's an added bonus. So yeah, pretty cool. Nice, cool retro design as well. Pretty impressed. Before we continue with the video, I want to ask a very small favor of you. If you're enjoying the content and you find a lot of value in what you've seen so far, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have just over 500 subs, and the goal for 2025 is to reach 1,000. So if you want to help out a small creator like myself, go ahead and click that subscriber button. Now, let's get back to the video. Another really nice thing about this keyboard is the size, or the form factor. Now, because this keyboard does not have the number pad, you don't have to worry about having to extend your mouse further out. I typically notice with bigger keyboards, especially if you're gaming, you'll knock your thumb a couple times on the keyboard if you like keeping it nice and centered to your torso. So I find that the size is perfect. It is chunky, of course, given the style that it's going for, but overall, I think the sizing of this keyboard is fantastic. Speaking of the keys, they don't all sound the same, which for some of you might not like that, but for me, on the other hand, I actually do. All of the letters and numbers all have the same sound to them. The shift caps lock, enter have a different sound. We'll compare the two. Big difference in sound there. Your arrows sound a little bit different than your shift and caps lock, and a little bit different than your letters. The tactile feeling of these keys are so nice. I just can't really explain it through video that well, but think of like a really nice Corsair keyboard, exactly like that. Like, it feels that good for, in some cases, half the price, depending on the keyboard that you're comparing this with. But yeah, just so good. Now for me, there are two big drawbacks with this product. The first one being these keys do not light up. So if you're trying to use this keyboard in a darker environment, you're gonna have a harder time trying to make out the keys if you're not like a professional expert at using a keyboard on a day-to-day basis. So that might be a bit of a bother to you. To me, it doesn't really affect me a whole lot because in my office, I have plenty of light always, but just note that there's no RGB for you to make the keyboard light up and glow in darker environments. That could be a deal breaker for some of you guys, but you better know that before purchasing it. And the second one goes down to the lack of adjustability on the keyboard. As you can see right here, there's no way to add a little bit more of a tilt or a lack of a tilt to the keyboard. So if you do have some sore wrists after typing away for a couple hours, what you see is what you get. You're gonna have to kind of live with the rake of the keyboard as it sits on the table. For me, it doesn't really affect me a whole lot, but again, they were going for an old school retro design, and back then, not a ton of keyboards had that flexibility. So it stayed true to the generation that it's trying to target. But I would say that that is a potential drawback for those of you who do like that adjustability on a keyboard. So what would I give the keyboard out of 10? Honestly, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Now that's saying a lot, but I'm just really impressed at the price point, and everything that you get as an entire package is really impressive. The build quality is fantastic. You get that extra retro controller, which is pretty cool. The keyboard itself is really rigid, well built, has great feedback on the buttons. I don't have really any complaints aside from it not having any lighting, but I think that's negligible when you're considering the type of keyboard that 8BITDO has gone for. So 9 out of 10, that's some pretty high praise, and I don't think you will be disappointed if you pick up this keyboard. In fact, it comes in various colors, so even if you want to go even further back, like early 90s, where you have a really old school look, you can get that too. So they're flexible with their colors, and quite honestly, it's a great product. Consider it if you can pick them up for, right now on sale, $80. You should go and do it. Hopefully this video provided you with a lot of value. If you like it, please do leave a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm a lot, more than you think. And also consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more reviews like this one. We'll catch you in the next one.